Welcome to Rhythms That Restore. I'm your friend Cherisse that's ready to journey beside you. Let's learn rhythms that can restore our minds, hearts, bodies, and spirits, and allow us to walk confidently in who God has called us to be. Are you ready? Pull up a chair. Let's get started. Hey, friend, welcome back to the podcast. So glad that you pressed play with us today. We're so glad you're pulling up a chair and joining us for this incredible conversation. I am thrilled. I am thrilled for technology today. I am thrilled that we can all be here today, wherever we are all listening or watching from on YouTube, that I get to be here in Memphis and Constance gets to be all the way in California, and we get to welcome her to the show. So Constance, welcome to Rhythms That Restore podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited for today. I'm just ecstatic.
Yeah. You know, today is a total representation of how goodness can come from technology. That we got to meet on Instagram, and I have been following Constance. I met Constance through Melissa Helton with
right.
Women of the Way, because I was following Melissa at Women of the Way, and then of course, Instagram and its algorithms paired us up. And then I saw your beautiful candles and everything that you're doing. And then I was intrigued by the name Raphah Candle Company. And I thought, I want to know more. So then I'm reading and following you. And the more that I got to watch your story through the candles and just really how you move and post, then I wanted to read all about you. And then I was like, I have to meet her. And and I knew my friends, I knew everybody would want to also know you and know your story and know more about your candle company, because y'all, they are the most beautiful, thoughtful candles I've ever seen. And I love candles. I have all of them. So I'm sure you hear this often, but yes.
It blows my mind every single time though. Yeah. It just really amazes me what an idea that God can give you and how it can just take over and just bless people that encounter it. And really, it wasn't none of my doing, I promise. But it's really amazing to be a part of the stories and things that I hear. I'm like, wow. God,
they're
really
beautiful. So everybody has to go follow you on Instagram so that they can see what we're talking about. But I remember the first time, I think I tried to just order one for myself. I ordered 3. I gave all 3 away. I had to reorder and get more because they're so cute. Like whether they're these little votives or the big one. And I showed my friends at the retreat house. I was like, we have to have these for our silent retreats, and they're beautiful. So again, the story behind the story, and we're getting to meet Constance and to hear all about her. And it was so cool. As I was reading your bio on your Instagram page, I thought, wow, there's such a story behind this. And as always, with any incredible entrepreneur, there is always a story. And so let me not waste any time. I want you guys to get to meet the amazing Constance Perry with Raphah Candle Company. So let me tell them your professional accolades, and then we'll get to jump in with all the fun stuff. Because y'all, we were backstage and we must have talked for like 15, 20 minutes. Like, okay, we have to hit play because this is good. So we don't want to miss out. Constance is the founder of Raphah Candle Company, where faith meets fragrance to inspire rest and healing in God's presence. She is an ordained pastor since 2021, serving as student ministries pastor, director, life groups, singles ministry, and clergy development pastor. Woo! That's a lot of pastoring. Yes, that's incredible. Incredible.
Not all at the same time.
No. What an honor. What an honor. What a servant's heart that you have. That's really, really cool. Really cool. You also graduated from law school in 2017. Man.
Different lives. Yeah. I'm like, okay.
I know. It's incredible. It's incredible.
You saw one person I often question.
You're like, really? Okay. So we know she has so much education and knowledge. I love that you said that you're committed to using your gifts to help others grow in faith, understand their purpose, and deepen their relationship with God. which we see through truly just who you are on social media and through your candles. But I do love that you said, on a lighter note, you love board games. You're always building your collection and love bringing people together for game night, which is so fun. I love bringing people together around the table. I am learning to play more. I am learning. My 6-year-old son is he dominates in Monopoly always.
Yeah.
What is your favorite board game that you
that's so funny. It changes. I think right now my family, we're playing apples to apples. We've been stuck on that for a long time.
Yeah.
But we grew up playing board games. Like my grandmother, that was really big for her. And I think it's just always been a part of every family event gathering. And even when I'm alone, I think it's one of my favorite. I'll play like solitaire or something. Yeah. I really enjoy, I don't know, maybe it's a competitive edge or something. But yeah.
But it's good. It's the competitive, but it's also, as we're going to be talking a lot about this, like you said, you love stillness. And I think that in our age of busyness and always being plugged in, bringing back games, cards, board games is really beautiful because it does allow our brains to disconnect and to just have fun.
Yeah. It reminds, I'm like reminded of just the gifts I've been giving recently. I find like I have like a theme. I'm always gifting people the same things, a journal, candle. But recently it's been a game. So I'll like find a game that I think really connects with somebody and I'm like gifting those. I'm like, I think
it's fun. I think we should all like bring back the family game night or friends game night. It just, it facilitates conversation and it just, again, allows us to all step away and to be present. Yes. Present. I love it. So game night. And then you also said, I didn't know this about you, that you also love traveling and you're always down to explore. So where are your favorite places to travel?
Wow. Loaded question. I have a few. Okay. I think my all-time favorite place is Hawaii. I go there pretty often. I feel like that's my home away from home. Hawaii, number one. But a few, like, what was that? I think it was 2023. I went to Paris for the first time, and that stole my heart. So how can it not? I've been on this, like, gotta get back. Like, yeah.
I'm with you. I feel like I think as a creative, it's so important to travel. It's so important to travel. It's important for us to expand our mind. And it's important for us to see the beauty that God has out there.
Everywhere. And the people, it's everything. The cultures. It's such an experience. I have so many experiences traveling where and I do, I guess I do a lot of solo traveling. Didn't expect to do that. Wasn't my favorite thing at first. But now I find it a way to really just me and God, and it's really amazing experiences.
Yeah. It's good. I think that
that'd be a whole nother episode. Travel.
We need a travel episode. Yes, because one of my friends was on just a few episodes ago, Kate DeBlander, and she loves traveling too. And she had shared a quote that her mother had given to her. And it was something like, if you don't travel, it's like only reading one page in a book, but traveling allows you to read the whole book.
And there's just so, I mean, I also went to Turkey like 2 years ago. That was a life-changing experience because I was there for about 3 weeks and most people don't speak English. And I think being somewhere alone and no one speaks your language, it was like a silent retreat. It was you, it was me, it was God. And now, like, so much of communication I learned has nothing to do with our language. Like, you can pick up on so much. For example, joy, laughter, sadness, fear. So many things you could just pick up by just watching people. Everything is communicated. And I was just like, wow, God. we don't even need to hear each other really. Yeah, it
is.
was really, it's been a just powerful experience. Turkey is like, it's really hard. Yeah, I feel like Turkey's up there too on my list of places. The food alone, I think.
Is good. Yeah. Oh, yes. We're leaning in. We're leaning into the travel, and I'm so encouraging everyone in our community to do the same, because we have to. It's like we are having to get out of our comfort zone. We're having to get out of our norm, and we have to step into, for me, faith. Like stepping on an airplane and flying overseas. That's huge leap of faith. And staying in unknown places. All of it is really saying, all right, Lord, I'm going to give you control. And I did that last year, traveling with women I didn't know. I didn't know until I got there. Then I met them in places I didn't know. Again, it just gets us out of that routine and depending on our own self. So
there's so much. I'll say this part because I think this is important. When we're talking about rhythms that restore, travel is one of those rhythms. I definitely would put on the list, because I know for me, in times where I was having in a really rough season, just getting away, the switch in perspective alone will just have you like, okay, my problem is this big and God is, just get away. That getting away solves a lot.
It does. Getting away from our own.
It's not as big as you think it is. It's not as bad as you think it is. Go see.
Right. It's almost like God picks us up and is like, we're just going to take you out of that situation for a minute so I can get your attention.
Yes.
Yes.
It works every time.
All right. We need to put that on our list for 2025, that we want to prioritize getting away and being with the Lord, getting away from our normal routines. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, okay. So I want to dive in because I have a lot of questions from what you've shared with me. I was asking Constance about, like I do everyone, what are some different spiritual rhythms that she has? And she mentioned 3 things I don't know anything about. And I know you said you've already told us that you love journaling, and that's lovely. But you had mentioned the Armor Bible subscription.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Anything about that? I know, huh? Yeah. It's like, I guess, how do I find certain things? I think just being online, like we're talking about technology and the gift that it is, it just exposes you to all the other believers out there, right? And like the gifts that people have to offer. Arma is it's like Netflix for Christians, but it's not like entertainment based, even though it's entertaining. Pastor Manny Arango, he has created this system where he just dives deep into the word, breaking down every book of the Bible. Like he has some sort of, courses and courses on each book, and then various topics as well. I think recently he did like a topic on family, and they needed a topic on sexuality. And so just like relevant topics that, that we're all dealing with as believers. And he just goes in deep dive. He has a PhD in theology, and he's just a nerd. And I feel like I've learned so much just consuming his content. And so, I think it's, I don't know, like maybe $10-$12, just the same price as Netflix, I think, but you get to just, and the content is endless. He's constantly coming up with more courses, so you never going to catch up with him. And I love it. I
am that way. I am a learner. I love to watch like the Masterclass app.
Yes.
I love watching those. Yep. So that sounds right up my alley. And you and I were talking. Yeah. We were talking before we hit record about rhythms, and that we kind of love that rhythms are, like you said, fluid. And since it is March and it's spring, we're all kind of looking at, okay, all right, we want to get into some new habits and some new rhythms. And so that's a beautiful one, because if we're talking about mindset too for spring and kind of spring cleaning, a lot of times we do want to look at, what am I consuming? And is what I'm consuming, is that impacting me? Is it helpful or hurtful? And so that's a beautiful addition, maybe while you're eating your lunch or driving down the road, like consume
Yeah.
something that helps feed your soul, right?
Absolutely. It's just like a YouTube video or something. Yeah, like a podcast, something you could just listen to. I like to sit down. I typically, it'll be like something I'm like starting my morning with, just play it, take notes as, you're speaking. It definitely is an aid for me. Like if I have to write a sermon or something and I'm like the study process, like, oh, I didn't know this about this. And so it definitely helps with that. It's such a tool.
Okay. I love that. I didn't know anything about it. Okay. We'll put it in the show notes.
Oh my gosh. Do check it out. Oh my goodness. I love sharing. Like what? Yeah. Share some of your stuff too. I love learning new things. Yeah. Because there's so many tools out there. I told somebody I was discipling, this is such a time to be a believer. Like we didn't have all, like in the, like 10, 15 years. No, none of this was out there. I think, even the YouVersion app is not what it is today, but I don't even think, I think it had just begun or something when I was beginning to walk with the Lord. I was like, oh, now like everything's at your fingertips. So
I know. And you mentioned that in your notes also, that we have so many resources, so many, and we just have to make the choice to use them. And to put them in play. Now, you also talked about another app, and then we'll move on, you guys. But you said my prayer partner app, and I've never heard of that.
I'm obsessed. Like I can't speak. I don't know. Like a quiet time for me. And I love the word rhythm because again, for me, it feels like it's flexible. Nothing is. My quiet time with the Lord doesn't look like it did 10 years ago. It doesn't look like it a few months ago. It's like constantly changing. But my prayer partner, that app I've been using for maybe 2 years, through 2 or 3 years now. And it just provides this structure. And I don't know, like, there's several like prayer structures out there that kind of model like the Matthew 6, 7 prayer, where it is, where Jesus sort of like walks us through this model of prayer. And I feel like this app kind of structures it for you where it's like, okay, we're going to start in thanks. Write out what you're thankful for. Write out what your praise to God. It walks us through confession, walks you through, your prayer request, like things that you're asking God for. It asks you to kind of, it gives you space to be silent and just listen, like listening. And then it also like gives you tips on, it wants you to read something from the Old Testament, something from the New Testament, a proverb, a psalm. So it kind of just walks you through, and like literally by the time you're done with this, you spend an hour with the Lord, and I love it. It just keeps me on track. It keeps it a great place to keep my prayers. I have a notebook now, but I was using that. The app is a great place too. It just keeps everything for you, so you're able to look back over the months, over the years, see what God has done, see things that you were struggling with that you're no longer struggling with. It's just a beautiful, tight place to keep all of that. Because if you're anything like me, they'll be in like 7 different notebooks that you'll never open up again.
Correct. That I've never heard of that, but I do also love it too that it's on your phone, so you always have it
on your phone. Yeah, it
gives you a framework so that you're not getting distracted. It's right all there. Just fill it out.
And then there's even a to-do list part. So you're able to like the things that try to distract you during your quiet time. Like you could just type them all in like right there. And like, I'm gonna just put that there and move on. Yeah. It really has thought of everything. I think, when you're trying to have this time with the Lord and what you want to do. So I love it. I love it for beginners season. Like, I think it just in different parts of my walk where I'm like, I don't know what I want to do right now, with God. I'm like, look at this checklist. Yeah.
Well, and I think, like you said just a little bit ago, our journeys all look different, and it shouldn't look the same as it did last year or even 5 years ago. We're all growing and evolving and maturing in our faith. And so we do want to continually evolve and grow. And especially, in the new year and in March, spring, like we're all kind of wanting to spring clean, and we're wanting to add in some new rhythms. And one of the things that you said it in your notes that I think we'll be talking about a lot today is like unraveling our mess. And, all of us are kind of in that framework in March too, where we're like, okay, spring cleaning. I'm getting in some new routines. I'm getting in some new rhythms. And for us to all know that that's a constant process. It's not like we're never all cleaned up. I think God's he's constantly unraveling and peeling away of layers that we all have. And so I do think that's why I wanted to start with these first rhythms that you have, because in that unraveling process, the Lord uses these spiritual disciplines and these spiritual rhythms to help give us that framework to start pulling back, some of the layers or some of the tied up strings that are all over. He just starts gently being able to pull those through that, the mess, because he's bringing us to him and pulling us in towards him. Mm-hmm.
And it really just is like one action at a time. Sometimes people think they need to like overhaul and do it all. I always tell people one thing that you can control, focus on that. And you sort of just watch God begin to work with that. Mm-hmm. When I think about finding myself in a mess that needed to be unraveled, it was just one action. What's the one thing that you can do that can change, your whole situation? And it really is just one tiny change that begins the snowball effect.
Right.
It's like the focus. What can you do differently? If that is opening your Bible every day, if that is, I'm not watching this show anymore. Like, just one thing, go to the gym. That's the one thing.
Yep. I thought about that this morning, where I think many times we're all like, oh man, where's the magic potion? Where's the, because we think we look at friends, especially on social media, like, oh, they like poof, ta-da, this happened for them. That's just not the case. The case is always the little tiny one things that we all make that one choice every day. And it's little and it's ugly and it's not glamorous and it's not fun. And a lot of times we don't even want to do it. But afterwards, right? You probably know the scripture, that discipline never feels good at the time, but later produces a harvest.
I'm thinking of, it's probably not, I'm thinking of, is it in Romans where we're talking about God chasing his sons, or is that a different?
I don't know. Yep. But it does. You're so right. So all of us leaning into, wow, what is the one thing that will draw me to Jesus, or capture my heart towards him? And you also said it in here that, speaking of that, it's not just one time, that you said Jesus captures our hearts not just once. He captures them over and over and over again. And that's the same with these rhythms that he also gives us. He invites us in moment by moment, right?
Yeah. I really loved that question, because how did you word it? Was it the first time or the initial time?
Yeah. Where was the point where Jesus captured your heart? Yeah.
Yeah. So the story I shared with you, the very first time God captured my heart, I was 10 years old. I was pretty young. And he kind of met me in this, like, I went to a Christian school. So I'd been introduced to the Lord, and let me put him at his word. All the things that I had learned about him, let me see if this is true. And so I had this moment where I'm like crying out to him. I had just moved to a different city, kind of lost all my friends, new school, new neighbors, everything was new. And I was in an age where you're like kind of looking for that familiarity. And you don't really know who you are just yet.
Right.
And so it was just a weird time. And I remember feeling very lonely. And I cried out to the Lord, and I asked him, I'm like, I want my old friend back. I had a friend in mind. And sure enough, I think it was like the next day or that weekend or something, my mom, the Holy Spirit must have spoke to my mom, and she went and took me and reunited me with that friend. And it was from that moment on, I kind of, you just know, like there's certain moments with the Lord that you don't forget. And you may act like you forgot, like I can't say, oh, and then I lived a perfect life and I never fell away from the Lord after that moment. But he understands how fragile we are in our memories. And while I can remember that moment and him answering, he doesn't make me hold on to just that moment. It's like time and time. And he showed up in this year, and then 5 years later at this moment. And then I, fell away again. And then he came and got me again. And it's just this like repetitive cycle of him chasing us, right? Him leaving the 99 over and over to come and grab us. And I'm just so thankful, because like when we talk about grace and his forgiveness, it's like, so I can tell you, so undeserving, not qualified at all for him to come back, not worthy enough for him to keep coming back. I was like, that last time he probably should have left me, but he didn't,
Right? It's like the moment that we're like, okay, I got this. And then like 30 minutes later, we mess up again.
Yes. And so I've come to, this realization, just probably within the last year or so, 5 months, maybe, like this understanding, like, man, God really loves us. Like, and he's not going to do away with me. And I think understanding that, like, I'm going to mess up again. Like, that's my character. That's my nature. And he's going to come and grab me still. And I think understanding and wrapping my head around that is almost too much sometimes, It's like, oh, goodness. But it's in that, I think we recognize grace and then want to do so much better and want to be better and want to, kind of like, all right, let me get this in order. But I think I had this understanding. I'm imperfect. I am going to mess up. I'm going to try my hardest not to, but I am. And I'm so thankful that my Father is going to come and capture my heart again.
Yes.
That question you asked me, like, whoa, first time, well, just last week.
Always. And isn't it so cool that like you were 10 years old and to you that was a huge thing, but that he heard your prayer, he heard you, and he was in that small detail of your life, and that you can still remember it too. Is incredible.
There are a few moments like that where he came and got me again. It's like, and like we build on to them all, but it's like, it's the faith that holds me that it'll happen again, and I can trust, like when I call out, it's the reason why, we're not in a panic today when my power goes out. I'm like, hey, God, he's gonna, I just need to cry out.
Yes. And then it came on right before we got started.
Right. Exactly. Right.
So cool. It makes me think of that. There's a worship song that's out right now. I have no idea who it is, but it says like again and again and again and again, he rescued me out of the mess I was in. Oh, gosh, it's so true. Again, you guys. Yes. That we have to know that, and we have to believe that it doesn't matter how many times we mess up and how many times we fall down. We get back up. He picks us back up and dusts us off and sets us on our feet. And that's just, it's incredible to know. And like you said, it is hard, you guys, for us to wrap our brains around it. In our humanness, we really can't. But that's just the Heavenly Father that we serve is so cool that way. But I also loved, you said his persistence in pursuing us. And friends after friend that have been on have talked about that we also have a God who pursues us. And that's really cool. And maybe, our friends that are listening haven't even thought of it that way. But y'all, there are so many instances where maybe we're not seeing it as pursuing, but he knows exactly what he's doing.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm trapped in that thought, this idea. I think even back to, I think I was 24 when I finally was like, okay, God, I'm not going anywhere else now. You got me for real. But I was in this toxic relationship at 24. And I remember it was really the way, the only way I could think about it was like, I felt like God pursued me in a way that kind of stole my heart away from my ex-boyfriend at the time. And that's the way I described it. It was someone else was paying so much attention, so much care, so much love. And that kind of was like, well, I don't need anybody else. I want him. And that's really what turned my heart officially. Yeah. I know.
Isn't that cool, Constance? Because so many times we can all look back. I was doing a timeline this morning, and we can look back at the places where we had that void in our heart. And, you know, whether it was, who knows what, from a parent, from a boyfriend, from a spouse, who knows. And we think we want to grab hold of something that's here on earth to fill that void in our heart, to fill that, when Jesus says, I'm right here. I can fill it. And I love that you ran to him.
Yeah. That's the pursuit. It's, do you choose a word for the year? I know a lot of people do have like an intention that they set.
Yes.
For me, 2025, for me, the word is chosen. And you know, God had to remind me, because I was going through a tough breakup last year. And so he reminded me again, like, hey, you know, I chose you. Because, you know, you kind of feel this rejection. You start to, for me, I know I'm 37. And, you know, you start to be like, why am I not married? You know, why me? And I was having one of those moments with the Lord sometime last year. And he was like, hey, I chose you. And it was a great reminder, but he hit me kind of hard. Like, have you chosen you? Like, do you choose you? And it was, you know, if I was honest, I was like, no. And a part of the reason why we continue to choose the wrong things, like looking for other outside validation sources, because we haven't done that for ourselves yet. And God's like, I can do it, but I can't do it for you, you know? And so for me, this word is like this kind of reminder to continue to choose me. Like I'm fully aware that the Lord has stamped, proved,
right.
There's nothing more I can do to earn his approval, his love. He chose me. And now I have to kind of respond. Like I know that I've been chosen, and then also choose me as well. So it's been kind of a cool experience so far.
It's beautiful. That's beautiful. Wow. I'm like, I think I put my tissues under my desk. I need to grab them. Yes. Yeah. For all of us to remember, you are chosen and you are dearly loved. You are his beloved. You said that in here. I can't find him in all
did I?
You said that.
I'm like, I have to remember. I answered those questions a while ago. I'm like, how did I say? But it was a powerful experience for me to just sit through those.
Yeah. So take us back too, because you've told us little bits and pieces of your story. So take us back to deciding to go to law school. And how that kind of shaped you a little bit, and then bring us into kind of how you transitioned
today. Okay. Ooh, this is going to be a fun story time. All right. So going to law school was kind of in conjunction with that 24-year-old version of me who kind of was like, all right, God, I'm here. I'm locked in, me and you. And it was that when I came back to the Lord after, you know, doing my own thing and, you know, him trying to capture, and then me like going back into the world at 24, I'm in this toxic relationship, and he kind of just grabs me. And I remember one of the questions I asked him during that time. Well, I kind of had this, it was a thought like, God, there has to be more to life than this. And he said, yep, come on, I'll show you. And I kind of just, he kind of brought back to my memory all the things that I wanted. And law school, being a judge ultimately was like one of the desires that I had in my heart kind of locked away. Life happens and you think, oh, this isn't possible anymore. But with God, of course, all things are possible. And so, we kind of went on this road. I just said yes to him, said no to everything else. And I went to law school. around that time, I kind of dove into, while I was in law school, I think I always had the strong desire for ministry. So I was kind of going through that process as well. And even after graduating law school, getting the training I needed to become a pastor. So I did all that as well. I've always had like these dual lives going on. I was, hosting Bible studies out of my apartment to all my law school friends, and kind of they all, it's always been who I was. Mm-hmm. I think even after graduation, I kind of got to do both. I got to be this minister at a church, and then also pursuing my legal career. And so both things have always been happening simultaneously. Big but, in 21, I think everybody, like right after 2020, was having this like, am I happy? Moment, like everything is, I feel like I often tell myself, I wish I would have paused in 2020, because I feel like we had the opportunity. Yes. And I was so, I think, desperate to keep going and find some sense of normalcy that I didn't take the break that I should have.
Correct.
And so when 2020 hit, I kind of found myself faced with this understanding. I'm not happy. I'm not happy in my job. I'm not happy even with my church. Like everything is just pulling, and I'm not pouring back into myself. And it was hectic. And I'm going to be a little bit transparent. Anytime you find yourself depleted, capacity stretched, capped, there's no room to make good decisions. So you could be in the right places, in the right areas, trying to do the right things, but we're tapped out. And we're, have to make decisions, snap decisions, what they say, like thousands a day before we even like step out of bed, even like decisions are being made. And so I found myself, kind of depleted, but having to make decisions, and at a very high level too, when you're responsible for people, when you have a really demanding job, decisions, it's all decisions. And so I found myself making the wrong decisions in my personal life. And so I began to see the negative impact first, but you kind of push through and you push through and you keep pushing until you hit like this wall, or what I called kind of like trap, this entangled rope. And I think that's like 21, 22. I think I began to like, okay, God, come and grab me, please. come and rescue me. And the unraveling that he did, the shedding that took place. Yes. 2020, I think 2022. I actually was like recently trying to go over my head, like what just happened? 2022, I think I found myself I think 2023, I spent like, trying to hold on to everything. And then 2024 began this like, okay, we're done. Let's get rid of this stuff. And so I walked away from my job at the church. In 2024, I walked away from my job I took on I started working in-house versus litigation, which gave me more peace and freedom. And I could work remotely, which is nice. And and then I got to just focus on me and God again. It's like, because there's no, like when you're just overextended, too busy, and I was just pouring out of emptiness, really. And so 2024 finally began okay, God, my only responsibility, my number one priority is just me and you. And just to see the quickness of the impact of obedience, really, that's ultimately what it is. I know I'm not even mentioning. So in this cry out, God gives me this vision of this business. And it's so amazing how some of the most beautiful blessings come out of your brokenness.
Yes.
I think, 2023 is when God gave me this idea, and I just began to build, all while everything else is being sort of torn away from me. this is kind of what was left. And it's been such a gift because it's the thing that me and God are doing together. It's our passion project. And it's been the gift that kind of has what God has used to recapture my heart again, it's another recapturing tool. And I had no idea that's what he was doing at the time.
Right.
But just the experience, the growth that starting your own business takes place in you. I think there's a lot of stuff that he was just back to the basics, integrity, just the simple things and decisions that you have to make while you're starting a business. How are you going to do this? How are you going to show me, in this? And it's been, I think even when it comes to, I think one of the coolest things I've seen God do recently is just the principle of giving and how you get it back. I was just like, wow, like this is so cool. Like the more I try to give, the more
it's so true. You cannot outgive God. You cannot. You cannot.
It's kind of a fun game to like, let me do this. And then you just begin to expect it back, and it's kind of cool. So that's just been my journey of, God using this Raphah, and even that word came in 2020, in a season when we're supposed to just be weak and, surrender. Yeah. I didn't do it in 2020. Should have done it, but I remember God speaking that to me that year. And that was my word for that year, was to be still, before I even knew the world was going to shut down. And I fought him on it. I didn't like that. That didn't make me feel comfortable. I was like, no, I want to keep going. I want to grow. I want to expand. I want more. And now I'm a little late, but like now I'm like completely surrendered to this idea of be still, Raphah, surrender, like slow down. Because, at the end of the day, like I think we all got to experience that in 2020. Our jobs are here one day and then gone the next. And, we will all go on without you. And so I kind of, can respond a little differently now, I think, in hindsight, like what's making me happy? What's filling me up? And I've prioritized that,
Right. And I think that so many times God does he has us walk through a season of shedding, whether it's relationships, whether it is habits that don't serve us well. And that's such a beautiful statement. I've never thought of it that way. A season of shedding. It's that pulling away that the Lord says, this, you think this is necessary, but this is not. And this is not, and this is not, until he really has pulled all those layers back to where it's just him.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, are you ready to open your hands and receive?
Now,
right?
Yes.
Yeah. He's like, just come to me. And so I love that truly when you finally, all those layers and, pieces were unraveled, and you said, I fully surrender, that the Lord was like, now this is what I have for you. And he gave you that word. Tell us more about Raphah, the name and the background, because I've learned a little bit, but I can't even remember now. So tell us a little bit more about what that means.
So Raphah, I discovered the word Raphah because like I said, that year, God gave me the word be still. And so I, did some research and background on the Hebrew word for Raphah. It comes from that verse, Psalms 46:10, the well-known, be still, know that I'm God. I will be exalted among the nations. So it's like, I was like, be still. And so I, just doing a word study on this idea, I discovered that Hebrew word is Raphah. And it's not like be still like we think. It really means to be weak. It means to like fail, like surrender completely, let go, and know that God is God, let him take over. And so I think it's like completely countercultural, right? Mm-hmm. Like we want to be independent. We want to do, we got to do for ourselves. more, like I can be strong. I got this. And God is kind of asking us to do the opposite and say, and admit that you don't have this, and surrender and let God get it, And so it's such a beautiful, you can sigh of relief when you understand and get that. But I think for a long time I was fighting against it because I didn't want to depend on God. And I know that that's such a, right. It's like, even a lot of my prayers, I think, are, let me figure this out so I can do it for myself and not have to depend on you, Lord.
Correct.
And he's like, nope, that's not the agreement we have here. And
right.
So it's really this just understanding that we're always going to need God. And the second we find ourselves thinking we don't need him, he's going to put us in a situation to where we do. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like, it might be even a hack to understand, hey, I really need the Lord, so I'm depending on him for everything. And the hack is like when the word talks about his power being made strong, like in our weakness, like there is, if I want to really tap into what I can ultimately accomplish in this earth, I've got it. It's in my weakness. It's in my need for him to sort of, me tapping him in, like, okay, God, your turn.
Yes.
And so that's what Raphah is. It's a lifestyle. It's a way of living, and I'm hoping it catches on.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really a daily surrendering that we have to do as women, as entrepreneurs, running a business, starting a business. Yeah. And even for our friends that listen that aren't entrepreneurs, but they're working, if we're listening to culture, it is just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, make it happen. If you want it, get it, running after it very, very much, thinking that, if it is to be, it's up to me.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what culture wants to tell us. But then Jesus is like, no, it's not up to you.
It's not up to you.
It's up to me.
What
and
freedom.
Right. And it's like, if we want to lean into the world side, all that pressure, all that weight, all that responsibility goes on our shoulders. And that's exhausting.
Yeah, I was living there.
Yes, me too. I've been there. But then, like, what Jesus offers us is he says, no, take that off your shoulders and put it on mine. Follow me. Come to me. Be still. And he says, we can do this together. Like, he invites us to join him. And what you said is so true. If we would come to him and share with others too about our weakness, man, that is 100% in our weakness that he can be strong, and he can work in and through us in spite of ourselves. Right? Like, he doesn't ever leave us in that. He says, no, I can take that weakness and I can use that. Yeah. And so I love that you said that. That's so true, but it is so countercultural, and it's hard to get through our heads. But when we can open our hands, when we can say, all right, I'm not the world's best at this, whatever this is, but God can use me in that, and he has still equipped me and given me that. And like you even said it in your notes, nothing is wasted in his hands. Nothing. That he can take whatever we have. We all have something in our hands right now. We've all been given a gift. You've been given a gift with your story and your gifting. And he simply just says, just open that hand and let me use what's in it.
Yeah.
Right?
Man.
I know. You also were sharing on that same word of Raphah. You were sharing with me that you said through stillness and intimacy with God, that is when true identity is revealed.
Yeah, it's so funny because like when you said that, that's exactly where my brain was going. I think so many people who I talk to, especially newer believers and even seasoned ones, there's this hunger for purpose and identity. Yeah. And I'm like, it's already in us. Like, that's like the one thing that we don't have to go searching for. Like, it's
right there.
It's screaming at us almost, right? And I think the distractions and, all the voices that really keeps us from, what God is really just trying to show us. Yeah. every life situations tell you. People see it on you. It's like, even if you're not aware, like it's coming out of you,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, yeah, it's the silence, it's the stillness, it's, that it can be revealed, like, who we are on the earth, God's plan for, the way he wants to use us as his tool,
Right. Right. And it's through that stillness that we can hear, we can listen. Yeah. And you said it, it's the journey of coming home to who God created me to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when we're quiet, we can see that, we can hear that invitation. But when we're busy, when we're preoccupied, of course we forget who we are because we're trying to listen to everyone else.
And it's so funny to me. I think when I first created Raphah, the candle company, I was shocked because I'm like, huh? I'm like, there's no way this was in me. Like, I don't, like, if you knew me, the lawyer, like, I'm like, in my head, I'm thinking, I'm right-brained it. Like, I'm gonna sit at a desk, and it's been a complete, like, just mind-blowing journey to realize like how creative I am, the way, like, this other side of my brain that I didn't even know existed even. And it's in the silence that God begins to be like, no, this is who you are, and I'm like, oh. It's like discovering new tricks, like just completely unaware of what you're capable of and who you are. And so I'm excited to know more and discover more. And that is kind of when you walk away from who society tells you you're supposed to be.
Right.
Which is, a grieving in its own. I think that happens in the shedding. It's like, well, no, I'm supposed to do this. And this is what I went to school for. And kind of just surrendering to it. It's been fun because I think operating in your true giftings is fun. Operating with God is fun. Creating with God is fun. Creating in general, right? It's like,
it is. You're like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. Yes. So speaking back of Raphah candles and their word that you said, I love that. Really, if for some people, if they're like, what? I've never heard of that. I don't have a word. I don't know. I love that. Really, they can go to your website and maybe they're like, I need some stillness. I need that reminder to show up and be still. Then they could get a Raphah candle and have that one. Or you have one that says sovereign. Or what are some of the other words? I can't remember all of them right now.
Hope. I don't. Hope. Chosen is actually my newest one. So yeah, that Chosen's one. Hope, milk and honey, salt and light, sovereign, anchored.
Yes.
I'm like, armor is one that I have too. Right. Royal.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so exciting, just even that process of choosing names. I'm very meticulous in that process and which verses, going with what and what smell and what's the scent.
Yeah. And it gives us that opportunity to light it and to like to make that space sacred. Yeah. And to have that word right there brings us right back to, this is me and the Lord. This is me quieting my spirit. This is me coming back to him and having this opportunity. And so that's why, and I love words. So that's why I loved that the candles all had beautiful, intentional words. I love intentional words. So I love that. And it helps us bring our mind and our heart's attention back to him. So thank you for that.
Yeah. That's the
so goal. We want to hear too. I always love to ask everybody back to your 10-year-old self, which you started us off with. So we're going to start and we're going to end with your 10-year-old self. So tell us, if you were to go back to 10-year-old Constance, what would you share with her after this journey that you have been on, my friend? I mean, even in the last decade, I feel like that's been such a
There's
journey.
Nothing I could have done to prepare for that.
Right?
Nothing I could have said to prepare for that. But I think I would have told her it's okay to be you. I think, and this probably maybe, do you ever feel like there's a struggle that kind of a theme of your life, something that you'll struggle with? I think one of my struggles, I think my whole life is probably like this performance nature, this want to be perfect, yeah. So I think I would have just told her, hey, it's okay to be you. It's okay. Like, there's no performance. You've already earned all the accolades you need. The approval is yours. You're chosen. It's it. That's enough. You're enough. And hopefully that would like sink in. But even my 37-year-old self is struggling to get that too. So I think just continuing to tell her, hey, you don't need to look for man's approval. You don't need to look for even your parents' approval. No. Like, the approval that you need, you already have. He already chose you. He already said you're enough. Rest in that. And then hopefully we'll see what that would have done.
Yes, that's beautiful. Beautiful. As a beautiful reminder, you are chosen. You are enough. Mm-hmm. Constance, wow. It's so exciting. And I'm excited for my friends to know the woman behind the candle company and behind Raphah, and to know your story. And every time they light their candle and every time they gift that to a friend, that they can hear your words, they can see your face, your heart just beaming through that. And, we love supporting our friends and their mission and in their gifting. And so I'm so grateful that you shared your story and your heart and your wisdom with us today. Would you have any closing thoughts that you would just like to send us off with?
Yeah, a quick one. I feel like the Holy Spirit right now just wanted me to speak specifically to someone who's starting over. I think there's a fear in that, sometimes where, we have to, we're not happy with where we're at. But we feel there's a comfort, of course, in staying where we are. People are depending on us staying where we are. And I kind of just want to encourage the person who's unhappy and feels like there's more than what they have in front of them, to just trust in that space, trust God in that space, and begin to pray, okay, Lord, you can unravel this. You can undo all of this. I trust you. And know that there is better on the other side of that unraveling. As he begins to shed and tear away all the other stuff that we've built to sort of comfort ourselves, there's true comfort. And so, I just want to encourage that person who's about to go through the unraveling, the shedding season. It's so much better on the other side.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for your heart. Thank you for letting us know you and know your story and being here today.
Thank you for the opportunity. This has been so cool. I feel like I could do this all day. Like, let's go through some more questions.
No, I love it. We can't wait. And we'll have everyone can connect with you, your website and your Instagram, and get to know you even more.
Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining me on this journey of restoration and renewal. Remember, you can stay connected with me between episodes by following me on Instagram. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to ensure you never miss an episode. And if you found value in our conversation today, I'd truly appreciate it if you leave a review on your favorite podcast platform or share the show with a friend who might benefit from these rhythms. Until next time, may you find peace in knowing that you can show up every day simply as you are. And that is enough. Take care.